Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Siddhanta Vedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatosh Maham Om. Namaste. Uh, today is Monday. Okay. So just reviewing the verse 18 of all devotees are great, are noble people, because they become they are interested in this relationship with the Creator, and they are developing already this religious attitude of appreciation towards the Creator, and they are all noble individuals. However, the wise, the Jnani, he is myself. This is my teaching, because the ones with a steadfast knowledge has resorted to me alone. This is the highest goal, and this is the only reality. We say steadfast. So what is the exact meaning of steadfast? Is
Steadfast basically means
no distractions,
which isn't wandering, yeah.
And no wandering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Committed.
So it's nice to hear. I mean, we know that Krishna here is a symbol of Saguna Nirguna Brahman. Yeah? And he's saying, first, this is my teaching, it's important assurance. And the other one is the wise man, the Jnani, is of the same nature as myself. So it's again one of those statements of identity between Jivatma and Paramatma. So it's the understanding of the non-dual nature of reality, which is the Nirguna Atma. So this is the highest, the most noble, to understand the non-dual nature of the Atma. And for that, we need a focused, undistracted mind, so that we can resolve the ahamkara in Brahman. This happens to be the highest goal, human goal. Now we have four kinds of goals, mainly: security, entertainment, pleasures, dharma, and self-knowledge, moksha. Do you understand, Philip? So this steadfast person, mind, is committed. He has a clear view of the final destination of this process. He has come to the final highest goal of human life. So we saw this short story of a great devotee that started praying and doing puja to one of these gods, deities. They want a child, they gave the deity, blessed them with a child. All these deities, Rishi sometimes implies a deity, a wise deity or something. They are just symbols of Saguna, Nirguna, Ishvara. So they want to have a child. Ishvara has considered a child, but they forgot to ask Ishvara, I want to have a child that will never die. So Ishvara would just scratch his head and say, "Who? You have to ask to something else. If you want immortality, you need to ask for moksha, not for a child." No? So everything that is born must die. That is the moral of this passage here. Therefore, all accomplishments, all gains in life, they are finite, limited, and relative. All the best relationships, including the relationship we have with blessed health, body, mind, comes to an end. So come to the highest purpose of goal of life, which means I'm just in the pursuit of the understanding of the highest nature, the higher nature of God as my own nature. This is the only infinite accomplishment, because you have realized that your very nature is as well limitless and infinite. The 19, at the end of many births, one comes to this recognition, aham brahmasmi tattvamasi, that the nature of the jiva, atma, is the same as paramatma. No? So it takes many births, says Krishna, until we come to Brahman. So when we come to Brahman as Nirguna Atma, so it is the last stage within this relationship between Jiva and God. The last is you come to devotional sadhana, in which you address Brahman as your intrinsic nature, but you want to have a certainty, a full conviction, and you want to enjoy the fruits of that conviction, which is a sense of immortality, of limitlessness that does not belong to the body and to the mind, but belongs to one's true nature. So at the end of many births, how many we don't know, one comes to the understanding of the identity in regards to one's nature as the very nature of God. That is the wisdom the scriptures talk about, that Brahman is everything. Such a noble soul is rare. Okay? It's rare, but it is possible. We trust the scriptures, and we had a sense that we are at our last birth, last incarnation. And we have to keep that in mind so that we don't subconsciously say like, oh no, let's postpone it, So I trust I am here, not by any chance. I may complete my journey in this life, meaning to say, I may be an exception to the rule. What is the exception? It's just people who understand the true nature of reality, the true nature of the self. Well, it's rare, but it's within our reach. We are advanced Vedantins, and we trust the bless of the scriptures that facilitate in this final accomplishment, the highest goal of a human life. The four stages of the bhakti again appears in this verse, meaning to say that reincarnation is implied in this verse. You cannot accomplish that through one birth. It takes time to develop maturity, usually involve many lives, many births. And then he reminds us the different levels of devotion. In the beginning, we want to be devoted to God so that God can protect us from great suffering, pains, disease, illness, death, loss of our loved people, So it's said that Vivekananda once said, from a hungry person, even God has to come with bread, not with the Gita. This is very nice, huh?
Mhm.
So a hungry person will never be interested in God. They want bread, rice, and dal. Chapati, rice, and dal. Okay, I'm hungry. I don't want the scriptures. I don't want the guru, the teachings. Therefore, when there are problems in life, the first things we want is to get rid of suffering, of the problems. Thereafter, we begin to do bhakti for several other means. Yeah. So in the beginning, we want to return to God because suffering is unbearable. And then once the suffering is minimized, I start doing devotion and pujas and some other rituals and whatever. So wanting not only protection against great pain, but only facilitation for the accomplishment of my desires, worldly desires. So we all go through this lifetime or others. We want Ishvara to facilitate our worldly accomplishments, and that is acceptable. It's important to value that as well on the initial stage. And then Swami says, somebody tells to Swamiji, oh, I understood, Swamiji. But the world is only gives me 70, 80, 90 years. So that is why I have understood everything, that the world is this much, only 93 years old. Doesn't matter, at least now some realization took place, better luck next birth. So I did not understand this passage. I have understood the world is only that much. What I sometimes, these transcriptions literally do not make much sense. So the person is old and he says, oh, and now, so I don't have time to complete my goal here, which is to move into a higher form of devotion. Yeah. So the scripture is going to say, never mind, next verse, okay, you're gonna grow, you're gonna begin from where you how you say, left off?
Yeah.
Left off. Then you will get several births, and then somebody say, okay, Swamiji, but how many more births I need? So only Shwara knows. I trust that we could complete this journey this lifetime. And when it was my first birth, oh my God, I mean, we go into these linear notions of, origination of the universe and the first souls, and then go, I'm an older soul, I'm in the youngest. So, I mean, none of that is relevant. This is all into, mysticism and exotericism. And it doesn't matter. To begin with, this reality is cyclical, and the jiva is an eternal principle. And whether the soul is young or old, it doesn't matter, but we can access, with the help of the scripture, we can accept our lives, the way we live and conduce our life, to understand more or less how mature, how prepared, or how immature and unprepared I may be. That much we can do. And that is what is relevant. Integrity, honesty, and we have the teachings that can allow us to have that assessment. Do not be pessimists. Remember, yeah, we can do it. With the grace of Ishvara, we can do it. Why to wait? Why to imagine that I am a young soul and I begin this just a few lives back? Why not to imagine I'm done with this? I have begun, from the beginning of times, and I am mature and ready. So we need maturity. At the end of many births alone, one will begin to value self-knowledge and moksha. We can have an assessment of our degree of maturity by seeing, so what is my value for self-knowledge and moksha, from 1 to 10. So we need tremendous maturity to value moksha as the number one goal of my life. And then gradually that desire, that goal should become more and more intense to the degree that there are not many other desires, crowding around it, like the weeds around the plants. No?
Yeah.
We need to make space for this mumuksha to grow. Mumukshutva. Therefore, at the end of many births, a person becomes a yani. That is the last level of devotion. Vedanta, Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasana, with the help of Guru and the scripture. So it says a lot about us. So we are the rare souls that come to this Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasana. Therefore, Krishna says, the matured individual attains the understanding of the identity, in terms of one's very nature as the only nature. And it owns, it does not become, it owns the fact that there is only one Atma. And of course, this individual soul cannot exclude itself from something which is the only reality. Therefore, as if it merges, as if it becomes Brahman, it merges into Brahman. So when we use the analogy of the river literally, physically merged into the ocean. So likewise, the individual soul, due to a cognitive, understanding, drops the idea that I am an individual, separate entity, and I have to find my way to meet God. The separation, the gap between the Jivatma and Paramatma is removed by understanding. So therefore, what is Jnana? So he attains Jnana. And what is Jnana? Jnana means knowledge. And what time of knowledge? The knowledge of the true nature of Brahman, Nirguna Atma. And that Vasudeva, which is another symbol of Brahman, is everything, is the only reality. Vasudeva can be understood generally as Lord Krishna, son of Vasudeva. Vasudeva, Savan, does not mean personal God, personal Krishna. It means Nirguna Brahman. Saguna Brahman, such as Saguna Ishvara, such as Krishna being there representing. Actually, Krishna represents both Saguna Ishvara and Nirguna Brahman, depending on the context of his teachings. His talks, I, me. If you're talking about a personal Krishna, you know that personal Krishna is finite by nature, was born and will die, it has certain age. A physical, personal God is limited. We need to understand that as well. Is limited. If you even say, oh, but it's a deity, lives in a locker, but one day that deity has to leave that locker. And not only that, it is somehow limited by its attributes. Oh, it's pure knowledge, but it still is a limitation. Ishvara is pure knowledge, is limited as well. is unlimited in its true nature as attributeless conscious existence. You know? So any relationship that we may have with Ishta Devata is a relationship with something, a principle that is not the limitless Brahman. And freedom comes from this relationship, non-dual relationship with Nirguna Atma as one's very intrinsic nature. And there is a story here about Gopi. Physical also, personal God is limited, and that is why we got away from Gopi. And again, he went to Gopis. Therefore, personal Krishna cannot be everything. Therefore, the acharyas give a different meaning to the word Vasudeva. Vasudeva means Brahman. So I forgot what's the deal with this Gopi. Who remembered?
The gopis were all the cowherders. They were mainly female, and they all loved Krishna. They used to go away from them from time to time.
Yeah, the devotees of Krishna.
Yeah.
So later on, when we have lunch, you explain me this story, please. Tell me this story. Here, Vasudeva does not refer to any Ishtadevata. Vasudeva here represents limitless, infinite Brahman. We'll see more details sometime later. Vashu means Satrupa Ishwara. How do you know that? Vasanti. The existence principle in which all beings rest. Devata means Sidrupa Ishwara or Brahma. Svam. Okay, it goes beyond my ability to understand.
Arlindo, I think it just means what in the word Vasudeva, you have the Vasu representing existence and Deva representing consciousness. So it's both together.
Okay, I take your word for it. Therefore, Vashu means Sadrupa, Deva means Sidrupa. Formless Krishna is Nirguna Atma, is appearing in the form of the entire cosmos. So such a knowledge he has got, such a yani. Only the yani who has a complete spiritual wisdom, understanding of the Saguna nature of Brahman, as well as the Nirguna true nature of Brahman. So this complete knowledge makes a person wise, spiritually wise, or yani. Yani is one who has yana. Yana means knowledge, but in Vedanta, knowledge means Atma yana, self-knowledge. Is the greatest of all seekers, noblest soul. Such a person is rare. Krishna has said in the beginning of this chapter that these devotees are rare. Many people do not want moksha. It was said in the third chapter, the third verse of the seventh chapter, where we are. Many people do not want moksha. Among those who want moksha, only a few come to develop this non-dual approach, devotion, love. And therefore, he is the rarest of the devotees. Arjuna, you may strive to become a yani bhakta. Of course, you start from artha bhakta, kama bhakta, and dharma bhakta. But you need to come all the way to become a yani bhakta. Nicely put, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see the recap of Swami here. A problem samsara, we have seen in the 13th verse. He talked about the sickness, the disease, the fundamental problem, and then he presents the remedy for samsara. So what is the sickness of samsara? Huh? Mark, what is the disease of samsara?
It's believing that happiness is in objects outside of ourselves. So chasing those objects which are infinite in nature.
Yeah.
Which are finite in nature.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, well said. So believing that the world is real and they contain the fullness, completion, and happiness that we want to experience, we chase these objects until we understand that they are limited and finite, and they bind the individual to samsara, which is a psychological condition of great psychological pain, frustration, irritation, anger. So people are born wanting security to begin with, and then pleasures and entertainment. And one believes that if I have all sense of security by having assets and money and my social security check every month and this and that, and then I may be happy. No? So as we know, the third level is to have an incredible value for Dharma, so that I try to find a sense of peace and security by observing Dharma rather than just relying on objects that give me security and pleasures or entertainment. So we want something permanent to hold, but the tragedy is that we are holding on impermanent things of these worldly objects. So everyone looks for these things. He want ananda, which is a sense of peace and satisfaction, and nobody's here wanting to suffer. I don't believe so, but maybe some dysfunctional souls that may come here want to suffer. But generally speaking, we want to enjoy. Ananda is fundamental in our nature, and it's more common than not that everybody wants to tap into the source of Ananda and enjoy this human experience. But the tragedy is the human beings does not know exactly where to find this Ananda. They don't know the source of this peace that passes all understanding. They believe to find it in para prakriti, in apara prakriti, not knowing that it's only available in para prakriti, which is one's true intrinsic nature as nirguna atma. First, he needs to understand that the mind and the physical body is not all there is to life, human experience. There is something that is the most invisible, the most subtle, and is the highest aspect contained in our human experience, which is free, limitless, nirguna consciousness, the nature of God. If you don't know that, you will now begin to search for the true source of happiness. Therefore, everybody search for happiness in this lower nature, the apara prakriti, and unfortunately, these things are not available in the world. Tell me who has found real, true security, no matter how billionaire one may be. Who has found, permanent satisfaction and peace, generally speaking, in the world? which experience through a mind that is attached to all its gain, all its belongs, all its assets, and all of these. And if you attach to all those things that you have accomplished, you're gonna suffer mental disturbance just trying to figure out how to keep it all, not to come down from that level. And that makes it impossible for the individual to experience the ananda, the peace and satisfaction that is inherent to one's nature. Everything is changing, and people who are billionaires, they're maybe even more terrified than common people. In Chandogya, it said beautifully that Sukhan asti alpa vastu cannot give happiness, because happiness is the expression of Purnatvan, so Purna Vastu can only give Ananda. Apurna Vashnu cannot give Ananda or fulfillment. Even if it seems to give Ananda, it's only a fake defect Ananda. That's why when one actually gets into those defect Anandas, one does not find real Ananda. She does not know the real source of true Ananda. He expects things of this world to produce Ananda. Since the expectations are unfounded or wrong, frustration is unavoidable. Sorrow is unavoidable. Depression is unavoidable. Disappointment. This is samsara. The consequence put together we can call the illness, sickness of samsara. And then what is the remedy? Krishna said before, the remedy is not jnana. It has to begin with devotion to God. Bringing God in one's life and then developing devotion. Devotion is nothing but an attitude of religiousness. What it means, religiousness? Religious attitude, huh?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So what is devotion? It's love towards God, not out of fear, not out of bargain, but out of great appreciation and gratitude for the opportunity. Reverence, love, devotion is what makes a person a religious person. The remedy is to become a religious person, not just a spiritual person. You need to include God into your life and convert those worldly emotions based on what I want, what I hate, what I love the most, and all my likes and dislikes, producing emotions in respect to the objects that I contact in the field. All of that has to be transformed into a different kind of emotion that we call devotion, which is deep gratitude for the opportunity. The remedy is devotion alone. And then Krishna elaborates the bhakti, and therefore bhakti alone will be able to fulfill this basic earning for security, permanence, and fulfillment. A bhakti alone will be able to fulfill. Then Krishna wants to clarify further, and for that person, he divides bhaktas in 4 types of bhakta. He's going to talk more about bhakta. Now, bhaktas or bhakti, the so-called bhakti yoga. Now, but here, going back to the Chandogya, help me with you guys who understand more Sanskrit. Na alpe sukha asti alpa vastu. Please help. If you can.
I've lost the place in the text.
It's in the same paragraph at the beginning. It says, Chandogya Upanishad beautifully says.
Oh, I just think it means Vastu cannot give you happiness. Happiness is an expression of Purnatvam in that second sentence.
Yeah, the second is easier. The first one, the happiness, you can asti. What is asti that I never memorized this thing. What is asti?
Don't know. No.
I think it's established, something like is asti. Set.
Okay. Okay. So we get more or less the concept. So let's see the 4 types of devotion. And Krishna says that among these 4 types of bhaktas, the fourth one is the most rare, is the one who is the closest to fulfill one's purpose in life. So the fourth bhakta will be able to be done with the first 3 stages of human goals, human pursuits, you know. So what are the first 3 pursuits? Security, pleasures, entertainment, and dharma. These first 3 human pursuits are great, but the last one is beyond greatness, is noble. The fourth type of devotion, devotee, is the yani devotee, bhakta. Only through yani bhakti, one, you know, completes one's journey. And why we need to go into become a yani, or we need to search for Atma Yanam to be successful. We need to keep this religious attitude, which is the bhakti attitude, but it's no longer dualistic by nature, but you are just devoted to fully understand that the nature of reality is non-duality, and the true God is my very intrinsic nature, like the nature of everything. So, and then you become obsessed with Nirguna Atma. And why it takes that to complete one's journey? Why?
Because, like you said, the first 3 are all dualistic. You're still looking outside. There's the fourth one. It's non-dual. So
Yeah.
these don't really matter.
Yeah. So when you speak, next time you speak more loudly,
Okay.
but it's okay. We can say different things here, but in order to become successful, we need to understand our Purnatva nature, okay? And our Purnatva nature is the non-dual nature as limitless conscious existence, one without a second. The success is complete once we assimilate this knowledge and we internalize it so that we can enjoy the fruits of this knowledge, which is the success there, which is a sense of security and peace that does not depend on the circumstance of one's prarabdha, but it is directly connected with my clear understanding, my clear vision from I am Sattva, I am Satya, limitless conscious existence. This word is just a superimposition upon this nirguna self. So the success means the third element involved in this Vedantic process, which is the accomplishment of the Ananta, by the means of hard and fast, well-established knowledge in respect to my full, whole, and complete nature. So if I'm complete, I'm satisfied, I'm the only reality. So that understand leaks into our inferior nature, as sometimes I tend to put it, leaks into my inferior nature. And then my inferior nature, although in its substantial apparent nature, the body mind is limited. It's going to enjoy a sense of limitlessness, which is inherent to my true superior nature. The success is to enjoy the fruits, this ananta, which is only possible by understanding the true nature, non-dual nature of the Atma. I myself, I'm beyond time and space. The body is not the best representation of this aham. The aham has now transferred its sense of identity from the mortal body-mind to the immortal Satchitananda Brahman. So, and that is the success. And the success is only possible by the means of Yanam. But here in this passage, it says it's Yanam Bhakti, Atma Yanam Bhakta. So it's putting all the yanis in the category of being devotees. You understand? And most of these yanis or the Vedantins around that do not buy into that concept because they don't like the concept of God, much less the concept of devotion. But here you have to be a devotee of Atma Yanam, because only then you'll be successful in enjoying the fruits of the understanding of your true, limitless, infinite nature as conscious existence. But before that, the seeker needs to become a Yani Bhakta, and the Yani Bhakta knows where to tap to get these three things. The Yani Bhakti, now I have been there, I know I need to address Saguna Ishvara in the beginning to get certain securities and satisfactions with sensory satisfaction and so on. But now I understood that the true source, the source, the fountain of security and ananda and peace and happiness is in Nirguna self, which happens to be one's very nature. You understand? So this Yani Bhakta understood that this fountain, this source is one's very nature, the very nature of everything. So I no longer look for security and satisfaction in the world of Aparaprakriti. Lord Krishna says it takes some time. Initially, a person cannot go directly to Yani Bhakta. He has to grow gradually, creating the base, the foundation, that's going to sustain the last stage of one's devotional attitude towards Nirguna Atma. People think that this devotion is only towards Saguna Ishvara, because duality, and then, but when I go for Brahman, it's just here, there is no question of being grateful. But as you said earlier today, Mark, you say I think you told me certain moment yesterday, dinner time, but the Yani, understands that the true nature of Saguna Ishvara is Nirguna Atma. Yeah. So before you were the devoted to Saguna Ishvara, now you see, there is something far beyond that. It's the true nature of Ishvara Jiva Jagata. Now I'm devoted to Nirguna Atma, Nirguna Brahman. And where is the devotion go? It does not need to shrink. It needs to be even more intense, because now I understood the real God, the real boss here is attributeless. It's just my very conscious existence. This is a very wise devotee. We have seen it in the previous classes, and we see the 19th verse, the topic of bhakti, as the remedy to cure the sickness of samsara is over. Krishna is entering another topic now from this verse 20. Governed, compelled by their own nature, and deprived of discrimination by various finite desires, the other devotees resort to other deities by taking to various disciplines. So now he steps back, and you say, you make a step back and say, okay, we talked about the highest devotee, the noble, the most noble of all devotees. Now let's talk to the other devotees because they are also rare individuals. They are compelled by their own nature. What is this own nature? They are compelled by their Maya nature, They are compelled by their inferior nature, moved, governed by one's vasanas, desires for punatvan, in the world with the help of a saguna deity, That's because they are deprived of refined discrimination. And this is a very important point here, they are deprived of discrimination by or due to various desires for finite object. So if we have mind which is crowded by desires for finite objects, and as we know, we can't always get what we want. In fact, it's rare that we really accomplish our desires in the world. So, and then the discrimination is compromised because we are there trying the impossible mission, which is getting happiness in a place in which happiness is not contained. So the discrimination, the person, the indiscriminate person, the person deprived of high refined discrimination is deprived or is indiscriminated due to desires. Desires for what? Not mumukshitva. No, that is a good desire. No, that is a desire that's going to sharpen your discrimination because you are just desiring satya and you are just discriminating everything else as mithya. So your discrimination is being exercised in between in a most subtle and difficult possible manner, But the people who are deprived of a very subtle, sophisticated, refined discrimination, it is due to too many desires for things, worldly things, and these desires always compromise our discrimination. What happened here? Okay. And there is no problem about that. We begin not knowing anything about God, and then we have an inclination to understand God, to love God and appreciate God. And then we want to pursue finite objects of desires. And then we ask help to Ishvara, and that is a good beginning. But compared with the Yani Bhakta, these people with unsophisticated, more rudimentary discrimination, and the undiscriminated minds are due to desires for seeing finite that is going to disturb the mind invariably. You understand? The mechanism, it needs to be understood. It's cyclical. The person does not have good discrimination, good viveka, because he's searching an punatvan in the world of finite objects of desires. And then he does not have good viveka, And then, and why so? Because by searching these finite objects of desires, he is hitting a wall because it's impossible to find Punatvan in these worldly objects of desires. And then what happens? Your mind loses even more discrimination. The more we search into these worldly goals, the more undiscriminating the mind becomes. Huh? The more we, turn to God and begin searching. There are two things here in this verse. One is that they resort to gods, to other deities, not to the real Nirguna Brahman. And they are going to do a lot of sadhanas, disciplines. What are these disciplines? Doing things to gain certain favorable results, okay? So in the context of the Vedic culture is tapas, pujas, and rituals and ceremonies. They do all kinds of things, towards certain deities, several deities in the Indian culture. And you need to know how to do those disciplines and so on. And that's okay. It's better than being an atheist. Yeah? But sooner or later, one must understand that to look for Purnatva or Ananda in the gains, by gaining objects of desires, which are finite by nature, is going to only diminish my discrimination further. And that is due to what? Avidya, one's ignorant nature. We all born ignorant, a phrase I like to put in Portuguese in my class. We are born out of ignorance, otherwise we would not come back here. We are born out of, oh no, there is happiness there, let's go, this time we're gonna get it, We are born out of happiness, of ignorance, otherwise no need for another birth. And then we live in an ocean of ignorance. And if you want to get out of ignorance, everybody's pulling your legs down. Stay here with us.
That's true, yeah.
And then, unfortunately, most everyone dies within that ignorance, just to get another ignorant birth. But all of that comes to an end, according to Krishna Guru. Nobody knows how many births or incarnations, but maturity is possible. And we are all getting there. We can say that this verse talks about us because we have given up long before all sorts of doing, tapas, pujas, and this and that, or just asanas, and things just as a means to gain something of this world. Now we want to understand our Purnatva nature, which is altogether a totally different level of sadhana. Yeah? I don't want just finite goals. I want the ultimate goal, the ultimate accomplishment. So what happened to my true nature? So my old, avidya nature, it has been transformed due to association with the scriptures. And now my apparent nature begins what? To align with my real nature, So I am the Atma, full, whole, and complete, Purna. And I have believed that I am the limit, individual soul. And then the scripture is correcting that misunderstanding. And then now I'm, aligning my inferior nature with my true nature. So I am the body-mind complex. And the true nature of this body-mind sense complex is Purnatva, which is limitless conscious existence. And then with a very thankful heart, I say thank you to all deities that has served me. I give thanks to all the doing sadhanas that somehow has brought to this certain level of maturity. Yeah? And I become Yani Bhakta. In the following portions, Krishna is going to classify Bhakti broadly into two types, Sakama Bhakti and Niskama Bhakti. Sakama Bhakti, these are general classifications. No? Do you remember that? Sakama and the Niskama. So, I love God as a means, and the end is punya, let's say, or worldly accomplishments. And I love God just because I appreciate the opportunity. And my goal now and my relationship with God is the true punyat one, yeah, by the means of a clear and totally firm, convincing knowledge of my true nature as this very reservoir of security and happiness, which is conscious existence, one's true nature. So we have limited, finite goals. We turn to Ishvara and we are sakama bhakti, niskama bhakti. I want the limitless, the limitless goal of life, which is self-knowledge and moksha. Sakama Bhakti is using Bhakti devotion as a means to gain things of this world, finite ends. So I want security, I want money, I want properties, I want, all these things. And I turn to God to ask for help in facilitating my accomplishments. In this Shastra, all these finite goals are classified as Artha, Dhamma, Artha, Kama, or Artha, Kama, Dhamma. No? He puts, I like when the Dhamma is put on first, because it gives us the impression that observance of Dhamma should come first. Then we go through, trying to accomplish a sense of security, relative security, by having those provisions that allows me and my family to survive decently, and then have some trips, go to Disneyland if someone is a samsari, and Dharma, all of that art and karma has to be pursued only as so far as I'm observed Dharma, by observed Dharma is the meaning by which I go for this and that. So why it is finite goals, all forms of wealth will end, get exhausted. You guys heard most probably that Alexander the Great, when he died, you know this story. They had to bury his body, and they put in a coffin. And then he had a very strange request to his wise ministers. He said, I want you to make 2 holes on either sides, more or less the level of my shoulders. And I want you to stick my hands out. They say, but Lord, so you will be without vital energy. The hands are going to hang, and that doesn't matter. Let it hang, but it may break. No, it's not going to break. The elements are going to hold it. And they say, okay, so, but you're really sure? Yes, I'm sure. And why you want to do that? Because finally enough, after having conquered, a big chunk of the planet, I understood that I came empty-handed and I'm going to leave empty-handed. And I want everybody to see that at least that much I have learned. Okay, Dharma means all forms of punya. So Artha, Kama, Dharma. Dharma can be understood also. If you pursue Artha and Karma, observing Dharma, you are not only getting things, accomplish some of your desires, but you are accomplishing more punya in your karmic accounting because you are doing dharmic actions, and collecting punya. Dharma means all forms of punya are going to be credited in your karmic account. This punya is going to produce some inner happiness, but the promise is that it will take you to higher lokas once you leave this physical body. This is all according to the scriptures, Vedic scriptures. But know that all higher lokas are finite by nature. It's like having money in your savings accounts or investment accounts. So know that sooner or later that money is going to be exhausted, either by taxations, either by inflation, or because you spend it all. Therefore, Dharma, which could be said punya, Artha, Kama, punya, Dharma is going to bring about punya as what? A circumstance, favorable circumstance. Things are good. Artha, Kama, they all will come under finite goals, finite goals. There is only one infinite goals. We say infinite or infinite?
Infinite.
Infinite goal. So to generalize, we can say anything other than God is a finite goal, because God alone is beyond time and space. God alone is beyond time and space. Everything with time is under the fundamental law of time. Everything that's created grows, ages, and dies. Everything other than God is subject to arrival and departure. Everything within time and space falls within time and space as finite by nature. Therefore, everything other than God is finite. Go, the body, the physical body is going to go. So all the finite accomplished gains through this body mind, they are going to be taken back by the governments or by some of your, how you say, inherents?
Yeah. Your relatives who inherit your goods. Yeah.
So finite goals we can present in different forms. Dharma, Artha, Kama, finite goals. If you use the Kathopanishad's language, all forms of prayers is finite goal. If you have to put in religion's language, everything other than God is finite goal. So anything that changes is a finite goal. Anything that's impermanent is a finite goal. Anything that's not God is a finite goal. If you want to present in Vedantic language, all material things are finite goals. All anathema are finite goals. All material things. All materials are subject to destruction. It is, it comes in formation and it comes into dissolution. The gunas, they bring things, configurations together, and then they break them back into the energies again. Anything from you guys? Otherwise, we meet tomorrow. Did you understand, Philip? You have to keep coming to practice your English. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste.
Thank you, Orlando-ji.
Thank you, my dear. See you tomorrow. Obrigado. Thank you, Felipe.
You
Thank you.
so great.
Thank you. Good to see you back.